Hello, this is Dr. Larry Straub, Associate Professor of Management at the Newman University School of Business, and this is the 3 Tips series. Today's topic, navigating the current toxic, political, social, and cultural environments. In the last couple of weeks, like many of you, I watched the news footage of the Democratic House members walking the articles of impeachment through the corridors of the Capitol to the Senate. I watched this solemn procession and the utilization of the ultimate tool of government unfold for the second time in as many years. And I couldn't help but wonder, how did we get here? Again. But more importantly, how long will it be in this polarized environment before we see the next procession, and the next, and the next, until finally, we don't even notice anymore? I don't know for sure, but I suspect it can't be too far in our future. That day, when the final and ultimate tool of our democracy becomes a watered down remnant tossed to the trash heap of effectiveness and historical importance. Now relegated to just another overused and likely meaningless political weapon. Today on my 3 Tips series, I'm going to take a very humble stab at giving my students, family, and others advice on how to traverse this tricky and toxic political, social, and cultural environment. Initially, I need to note, I'll walk this tenuous landscape very carefully. I know what a perilous journey it is to venture down this pathway. While I'm a political moderate, I am very aware of the passions and intensity that exist on both sides of the spectrum. I have them in my network, my family, and my region of the country, just as we all do. Before I get to the 3 tips, I want to share a thought that will hopefully serve as a foundation to potentially build our new structure upon. When we talk about healing our nation, we understandably jump to how. How do we heal the fractured landscape within our regions and country? While this is understandable, I suggest that we back up a step and first ask what? What do we prioritize first? The nation or those relationships closer to home? Our cities, our neighborhoods, and most importantly, our families. We must ask ourselves this question. If we don't have the will, the determination, and finally the desire to heal those damaged relationships close to us, what chance do we have at the larger and national level associations? If we don't care enough to take care of the small, I am troubled that the big could be doomed forever. So at this time, I'm going to highlight 3 tips or steps that all of us could consider to lay a more fruitful and sustainable foundation moving forward. First, take a look at yourself before you look to others for answers and solutions. We really have to be able to take a look in the mirror and objectively assess our accountability for what's taking place. What role do we play in this toxic environment? It really shouldn't be that hard to fix this, except for the fact that most of us don't have the ability to objectively see our role in what is happening, our role in the problem itself. And what roles do we need to play in fixing what troubles our nation and the general cultural environment? Understandably, when we say we want our politicians to compromise, it is generally code for we want the other side to come to their senses and finally give in to our point of view. When we say we want to cut government spending and balance budgets, that's generally code for leave my goodies alone and cut everyone else's. We have to move beyond these unconstructive frameworks. The second tip, think and act multidimensionally to find and identify your truth and reality. It has never been easier to deceive and mislead, but it's also never been easier to use those same tools to find and identify the truth. Watch out what we are picking up from our echo chambers and feedback loops. Come up for some fresh air now and then. Detach and unplug. Check out different news sources from the other side, maybe the other point of view. Limit our use of Facebook, Twitter, other social media devices. And most importantly, be careful of the decisions you make, the bridges you burn. Ultimately, I would advise everyone not to cut off the branch your life and future rests upon. Beware of cancel culture, even so much as it applies to your inner circles, maybe even family. Try to understand differing views and opinions, even if you feel you can't agree upon them. I've been blessed to live in small towns and bigger cities. This is why one of the reasons I reside in the middle and will always be in the middle. It also makes it easier to understand the positions on both sides of the spectrum. The third tip, be very careful who you follow and allow to influence your thoughts and actions. Resist the pull to be an ideologue. An ideologue is an individual, in my opinion, that cares more about their ideas and political philosophies than about people. We don't realize that, but in many ways, we have all become unwitting pawns in someone else's game. And unfortunately, we never really know for sure who's playing us today. The political parties, the media, the moneyed interests, or even possibly some nefarious foreign actors, skillfully dispatching us to do their bidding, in some cases, not even caring about the eventual outcome. Just another dishonest day's work, wreaking havoc, confusion, and tearing at the fragile threads of our democracy, societies, and cultures. Sometimes for their own amusement, other times because it makes it that much easier to control and manipulate us. In conclusion, what many fail to realize, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were in actuality different sides of the same coin. A big old double bird to the political establishment, an electoral display of our ultimate distrust and disapproval of our current political environments. Everyone agrees our government is broken, but there have never been more divergent opinions on how to fix it, or even what role government should play in our lives, society, and cultures. Shared sacrifice for the good of the nation, that is what our country was built on. It's why we have all the blessings and wonder that we see before us today. We are capable. We can do this, but it will take all of us objectively assessing our accountability for this current environment, as well as determining the role we can play to help fix and heal our country and society. I genuinely hope this video strikes a common chord of faith, hope, and inspiration for a better and more productive future for ourselves, our families, and our country. Now for a summary of the 3 tips and actions you can consider and should consider. First, look at yourself before looking to others for answers and solutions. Second, think and act multidimensionally to identify truth and reality. And third, be careful who it is you follow and allow to influence your thoughts and actions. Few actions to consider to help you along this pathway. First, broaden your scope of inputs, new sources, new people and influences. Take time to process before you act, tweet, social media posts, or speaking. Next, consider the costs associated with beliefs, actions, or behaviors. And don't judge people based on one data point, incidents, or observation. Consider past history and the entirety of your experience with them. Also, practice empathy and humility. Be patient, respectful, and understanding. And finally, commit to personal growth. Experience new things, people, and ways of thinking.